Hey everyone, welcome back to Citywide Bytes. I'm your host, Max Bowen. In this episode, I welcome back author Pamela Harris for her new book, Through Our Teeth. The story opens with the death of Hope Jackson, and while everyone is so certain she's taken her own life, her friend Liv doesn't believe it. But as the investigation unfolds, we learn that things aren't what they seem. In this interview, Pamela talks about how she grew this from an idea she had 10 years ago, the complex characters she's created, and the message for readers. So, Pamela, certainly a busy time for you right now because as of this recording, you're less than 2 weeks from the release of your third book, Through Our Teeth. That came out on the 16th. And from your Instagram, you've been very busy with like book launches and
Yes.
signings. You've actually got a book launch happening on October 4th. So,
Yes.
you've got a very full schedule right now.
There's a lot going on, and I'm trying to remind myself that it's a good busy because I am such like an introvert. I am such a homebody, but like I think that, being out and about and like connecting with readers and just getting to talk about writing, like I remember that that's my sweet spot. That's what brings me joy. So
Hmm.
I think it's just the anticipation of I have to actually put on pants. That's what's like kind
Yeah,
of
it's
bothering
usually
me, but
required. I
yeah.
I think that most bookstores and libraries they're
Yeah.
pretty like stuck on like that rule.
Yeah. Pants, shoes, you gotta have those
Yeah, you
on.
gotta
So
do all
yeah.
that stuff. God, humaning. I hate it. It's the worst thing
I
ever.
know, I know. I have like what I call a social hangover, but this
Yeah,
will be
yeah,
a good one. It'll
exactly.
be worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, but like you do this thing, and then like a week later, it's like I am not talking to anyone except my family. That's it.
Absolutely. That's like my time to just kind of crash out, get in front of my Netflix and talk to my kids. That's it.
Exactly. Maybe, right? We'll see how things go.
Maybe. Yeah.
So, for those of us just like tuning in who are new to your work, what is this book all about? And as a follow-up, how does it open?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So through our teeth, it's pretty much like, what's really interesting about this is that I came up with this idea probably like over a decade ago when I was working as a school counselor. But it's this whole idea where these three former friends reunite to seek revenge on the person they think was responsible for their best friend's death. But as they kind of like seek justice, they slowly start to realize that they're each keeping a secret from each other. And
Oh,
slowly the fingers start pointing at each other as to, wait a minute, maybe you're the one that's responsible for it. So it is very creepy. It opens up on Halloween, so it's perfect for fall spooky season. And primarily the story takes place over the course of Halloween night.
wow.
So a lot.
So this is just like a day basically for
A
this thing.
day. Yep, pretty much. Like
Wow.
there's some
Yeah.
flashback moments, but primarily the meat of the story takes place throughout the course of Halloween night. Yeah.
Wow. What gave you the idea for this?
Yeah, it started off like I said a while ago. I was a school counselor and there was this huge thing in the news where this celebrity had like gotten into a fight with his girlfriend. And not even just gotten into a fight, he assaulted her. And I'm sitting here like as a school counselor thinking like, oh, I have to get ready and there's going to be a lot of people upset. So I'm going to have to really learn how to talk to my students about it, where they were more upset at the female that got assaulted. They were just like, oh, my students were very much on the side of the quote unquote abusive boyfriend. And I was really alarmed by that. Like, oh, okay, like they really think that she deserves it. And it's because they idolize this person so much. And so I wanted to take this concept of like someone that's so well loved and respected that if anyone dares to speak up against him, it's like, okay, I'm tossing you into the fire. I'm going to blame you instead and not believe anything that you've said. So I really wanted to bring that to light, like this idea of like blaming the victim. And then I tie in, of course, I'm a counselor, so I had to tie in a lot of mental health stigma issues with it too as well. So I do all of that, but in the guise of like a thriller. So that way you don't feel like I'm schooling you. I'm just kind of like entertaining you. But if you
Yeah,
learn
yeah,
something while I'm entertaining you, then that's great. Yeah.
definitely. Why do you think people do that? Like, why would they side with the supposed abuser and blame the victim?
I don't I think a lot of it is what I've noticed is and I'm this is like speaking from personal experience in my professional life. It seems like it was a lot of self-esteem issues that a lot of my students were dealing with. And so instead of like taking ownership or accountability that, I feel bad about myself, it was more so as like I'm going to project these feelings onto this girl who I don't want to align myself with. And I'm just going to like kind of follow up with what, who everybody adores and loves because I want to kind of fit into the norm as opposed to like going against the grain, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
Wild. So let us talk about our characters. We have Hope Jackson, who is the victim in the story. It opens
Yeah.
with her death, which
Yep.
everyone is calling basically are saying that she took her own life. But her friend Liv doesn't think that's the case. Why is she suspicious? What makes her think that that's not what's going on here?
Yeah, the circumstances were so odd with her death. And she knows her best, well, she assumes that she knows her best friend well enough. So even though her best friend has this history of like depression, she doesn't feel like this is something that she would do to herself. And there's like a lot of questions. And I think, especially as the story continues, you start to realize that maybe Liv herself even knows more than she's letting on about what really happened that night, which is like the tricky part. So she's pretty unreliable, I will say.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Because what makes her unreliable? Like, why is she kind of like maybe not the best person to be doing this?
I say that she has a lot of her own secrets. She has a complicated history with Hope as well as Hope's boyfriend. They started off like as a trio, and things get a little complicated when the trio breaks off into their own little
Hmm.
duo. And so there's a lot of mixed feelings involved with that, where she has love for her best friend, obviously, but she also starts to gain feelings for the boy in the middle. So things get it's like a little complicated love triangle there. Yeah.
Yeah, and these characters, they're teens, right?
They're
They're
teens.
oh boy, oh
Yes.
boy.
So you know how that goes.
Yep, yep. I do remember those days. So
Yes.
let's talk about Brendan. He's the town's golden boy. He's a hero. Why is he this person, and how'd you go about kind of crafting him?
I really wanted him to kind of like encapsulate like this whole notion of the golden boy. So I wanted him to be athletic, I wanted him to be charming, I wanted him to be handsome. I just wanted him to be someone that, everyone wants to hold up on a pedestal and to be like, oh, you know what? Like there's no possible way he could be this really bad guy because he has all this, great things going on for him. But then I also kind of wanted to add in nuances of his backstory to make you really wonder, like, well, maybe there is some darkness. So he has his own kind of childhood trauma. He has his own kind of like anger issues that only come up into light in really tricky, complicated situations. And so that's kind of why too I wanted to put these characters almost in a locked room thriller eventually. Because I
Ooh.
think when you kind of have people stuck in the same space, that's when like the mask that everyone is wearing is slowly starts to crumble because they're in survival mode, and that's when the real person comes out, basically. Yeah,
Wow, I love that. Did this take a
I
while?
love a good locked room thriller. I
Oh
do.
yeah, definitely. And I like the fact that you're kind of keeping us guessing, like, well, Hope's the victim. Well, or is she? Brandon's
There
the
you
good
go.
guy, or is he? So are
Yes.
there any like clear-cut heroes and villains in the story?
No, and that's what I love. I think that's what my favorite part of a story is that I want to show that every character has flaws, but also every character has traces of being a decent human being. Because
Hmm.
I think that's what life is. Like there's a lot of people, I disagree with, on like a grand scale, but then I'll see something really kind and sweet that they're doing to someone else or how they take care of a pet even. So I think that's like what makes like characters so interesting is that you can't just paint them like one way. There's always layers as to why they're behaving the way that they're behaving. And so I think like the real key, my goal is, and I think again, this is where like my background as a counselor comes in, is that I try to empathize with all the characters. So even if I'm making them the most obnoxious person, like I'm thinking of one character in particular that is so obnoxious. And actually, one of my early readers said, "Oh, he was my favorite." Because you wrote him in a way where I was actually kind of like rooting for him at times, even though he was saying the most blatant, irresponsible things throughout the story. So yeah. So
Do
I
you
think it's
have a
important
favorite
to add
character?
layers.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Huh?
definitely. Do
Yeah.
you have a favorite character?
Oh, that's tricky. I think it switches. I will say that the character that my early reader was talking about, his name is Asher. And it was fun to write him because he was uninhibited. And he said things that I will never say in a social setting. I'm not even saying that I would necessarily think it, but it was just fun writing someone that didn't have a filter because I make sure that everything I say, I try to calculate it because I don't want to offend people. But he
Hmm.
really doesn't care who he offends. And I think there's like a freedom to that.
Hmm.
So I think today he was the most fun to write. I will say that. Yeah.
Hmm. Nice, nice. Did this book have to be planned out, or were you able to just like go off the seat of your pants and just have fun?
Oh, I will say that I had like a structure. This book changed drastically over 10 years. Like I just been kind of like needling away at it for 10 years, but like the heart of it was the same, where it's just I wanted to, play like tricky mind games as to who's telling the truth. But I will say that I knew how I wanted it to end. Almost. I would say no, that's the tricky part. I knew what I wanted one of the final scenes to be, but like the main reveal was something that came along as I was writing it.
Hmm.
Which is interesting. I'm trying not to give away too much,
No,
but
no, no
I would say there's
spoilers.
like yeah, there were major parts that I knew I wanted to insert, but it was like how can I tell the story to get to where I needed to go? But then sometimes as I was like writing it, my characters kind of start doing their own thing. But it worked out better, I will say.
Mm, nice, nice. Now, as you mentioned, this book was in your head for many, many years. How does it feel to have it done and out there and folks are reading it and reviewing it now too?
Oh my gosh, it feels like such a success. Like it feels like, such a relief because this is a story that I thought would never see the light of day. And the fact that people are reading it and they're like, messaging me on social media saying, "Oh my gosh, like I was on the, edge of my seat because I was terrified. I was terrified to send it to like my editor. I was terrified for it to go out to the public because it's a little bit different than my past two novels in that, there's more of a creep factor. It's more thrilling. There's like more deaths. And so it's kind of like a slight, change of lanes for me. So I was kind of nervous about the response, but so far I've been very pleased with it. So I think that just kind of reaffirms that it's okay for me to take a risk in my writing. Like it will find the audience that it needs to find, basically.
Do you think you'll be taking more risks with your future books?
I think so. I think based on actually, it's funny that you said that because I'm in like proposal land of what I want to pitch next. And I think based off like the feedback, which I try not to listen to, but there are people that are resonating with the quote unquote horror elements. Like I didn't even realize I was writing something that had horror elements. And the fact that, I've seen people call it like a horror, I'm like, maybe I want to lean into that a little bit more because, I grew up on horror movies. I grew up on horror stories, R.L. Stein, Stephen King. And so now I'm thinking like, well, maybe this is something I really need to embrace. And so I'm steering my way to the next proposal being more leaning more heavily, not even just in the thriller aspect, but horror. So we'll see how that goes.
I would love for you to do a horror story, Pamela, because yeah, you would
Yeah.
do such a good job with it. Do you think you have
Thank you.
do you think you have a certain preferred genre of a horror?
I like, you know what? My horror tends to lean into like the psychological.
Hmm.
Like, I love what Jordan Peele is doing. I just think that what he's doing is amazing because he tells like a larger story, but he does it in such a creepy, impressive way. And I just like love the ones that kind of make you think. I love the horror where I feel like these things could really happen to me.
Hmm.
That's the ones that kind of creep me out more. I just saw actually recently this brilliant movie called Weapons, and there was just something so, oh, I loved it so much.
I'm seeing it. I've definitely seen it. There's definitely next on the list
It
because I
was
saw that
incredible,
the
incredible. So it,
trailer was so creepy because I wasn't sure, is it a horror movie? Is it more of a
yeah.
thriller? Like what's going to happen here? I also, too, the way the kids would run out of the house with their
Oh
arms
my
out was like,
gosh,
oh,
that
that's
image
creepy for
itself,
some
like
reason.
it took me a while to watch it. I'm like, because anything I see with kids, that if a kid might get hurt, I'm just like, I don't know if I
Yeah,
can
fair
watch
enough.
that. But I
Yeah,
finally saw it and I'm like, this was amazing. It was like this brilliant, unique storytelling. So I just kind of like to lean into stuff about the things that really scare us in the world as opposed to the things that really couldn't happen, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. What
Yeah.
would you say are some of the more realistic fears that you would like to play on in your works?
Ooh, I think definitely. I think especially with how the world is now, I really want to lean into the fears of like imagining the worst thing that could happen based on like the climate, but I want to do it in a way where it's escapism.
Hmm.
So if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
me, I think of like what truly scares me. And what truly scares me is like the fact that someone could invade my safe space, for example, that
Hmm.
could really hurt someone that I love.
Hmm.
Someone taking advantage of the things that I really do enjoy, but using it against me. And I'm saying that as a way to drop hints as to what I'm working on. Without giving it away too much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now I know in your last two books, This Town is on Fire and When You Look Like Us, both
Mhm.
touch on some pretty serious social issues. Does Through Our Teeth do the same?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think the main thing that it touches on is not believing girls, first of all, when they share their viewpoint and kind of doing the victim blaming, but absolutely it's the whole idea of not supporting, especially in Black communities. I think we're getting better at it, but there's such a stigma for anyone that is seeking help when it comes to mental health issues. And I'm drawing a light to that as to like people that are actively trying to seek help, and again, you have certain characters that still kind of have these archaic beliefs regarding that. But I just also want to shine a light on, gaining more acceptance for those that are doing something about their mental health struggles, basically, and showing how they kind of survive and even thrive despite whatever diagnosis they have, basically. Yeah.
Why do you think that struggle exists?
I think it's just a lot of like history. I think it's
Hmm.
just a lot of we were raised, and this is like primarily in the Black community, we were raised to kind of keep our troubles, our struggles to ourselves. We'll like tend to it in house, or we'll let the church handle it for us. So I think the fact that we're showing that, we're weaker and vulnerable when we've been like built and taught to be so strong, I think it just puts us in a very kind of like, too much of a vulnerable space than we want to allow sometimes. And so I think a lot of it is just kind of generational trauma that but what I love is that especially like this younger generation, this Gen Z, they're really embracing it. It's kind of
Hmm.
like, I don't want to repeat the same, mistakes. I don't want to have to go through the same struggles. If I can get help early on, I'm going to do it. And so I love the fact that we're kind of seeing a push where, we're even seeing TikToks and, Instagram reels about people embracing self-care and mindfulness
Hmm.
and therapy. So I think slowly but surely we're breaking that cycle.
Yeah. I remember seeing something, and I forget the guy's name, but he's a professional wrestler. So very much
Okay.
that like machismo, that macho strong
Yeah.
attitude. And he was saying it is not like if you're a man, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel these things. He was
Yes.
telling people to embrace your feelings, feel what you want to feel, talked about the importance of mental health. And I love that. I love like you
I
said,
love it.
to
Yes.
this generation is recognizing that, yeah, mental health is a real thing. You can't just put your
Absolutely.
problems in a box and expect things to work out.
Nope. 'Cause then you'll just blow up. Like you'll blow up at
Exactly.
the
I
time
mean,
where, that's not productive at all.
yeah, I mean, like that I feel like is kind of planting the seed for just a future and much worse mental illness if you don't address the problems as they happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Early intervention is best.
Yeah. Everyone should be
Yeah.
in therapy. Every single person.
I agree. Even if you don't think you have a quote unquote problem,
Just to
I
check in
mean,
on someone.
just
Get
to
that,
check in.
yeah, get that like
Yeah,
a professional perspective that maybe oh, I actually do have something wrong. Okay.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And just like
Doesn't
kind of
make,
having a safe space to vent. I just think that
yeah,
just feels
yeah.
good.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make
Nope.
you automatically crazy because you talk to a therapist. It's like going to your doctor.
It's
Same
just a
exact thing.
checkup.
Exactly.
It's
It's
just
a
a
checkup.
well-being checkup. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that is our PSA for the day, folks. But seriously, like mental health is important. Get yourself checked out if you're feeling something. Don't feel like you have to just ignore it because that's the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely. And you know what's really special, September, which we're nearing the end of, is
Hmm.
actually Self-Care
Yeah.
Awareness Month as well as
Yes.
Suicide Prevention Awareness
Hmm.
Month. So there's resources out there for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now let's pivot to talk about covers and titles because titles are hard. They're so hard.
Titles are
You've got to take
so
like
hard.
a 300-page book, in your case, 300 like plus page book, and scrunch it down to like four words, 5 words, 3 words in this case.
Yeah.
So what about Through Our Teeth made you think, boom, that's it. There's a title.
There was just something I remember when I was coming up with the premise of this. And I'm like, well, what are say? Because I know like I wanted to give this notion that everyone was lying in some kind of capacity. And so I started thinking, like, well, what kind of sayings do we have when people are lying? And I remember like the first one that came on was like liar, liar, pants on fire. And I'm like, I do not want to name a book Pants on Fire.
Please don't.
Like that, yeah, like I
Please
just
don't.
can't. That it just gives a completely different vibe. And then I was thinking of like, you know what? Oh, wait a minute, but a lot of people lie through their teeth. And after I said that, I'm like, wait a minute. And I could just see the image. I could see the image of the cover as soon as I said it. And so I'm like, wait a minute. So instead of other people lying through their teeth, like we all are. And so that's kind of how that through our teeth stuck. And that was one of the only times where I thought of that title even earlier on and it actually stuck. And it made its way through my agent, editors, publishing houses. Like everyone was like, yeah, that's it. We get it. We totally get it. So that was
Mhm.
rare. It doesn't happen all the time because they're hard.
Right. Yeah, oh yeah,
So I got lucky with that one. Yeah.
exactly. Now the cover is very, very
Yes,
intense.
I
And
don't
I
know.
know you had, yes, and I know you had the
There we
same
go.
cover artist for your last book too.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
tell us about this artist. How did the two of you meet and why did you want to
Oh
work with
my
him again?
Oh my gosh. Well, her name is Rochelle Baker, and she had designed one of my favorite covers from Tiffany D. Jackson. There was a book called Grown, which was like the cover was beautiful. It was just like this, you know, really striking image of this black teenage girl with like a buzz cut and these large hoop earrings similar to what I'm wearing. And then the hoop earrings actually said grown on it. And I just thought there was something so striking about it. So I remember when we were going through the process of the This Town is on Fire cover, and I was receiving portfolios from different artists, and I saw that cover again, and I'm like, this is it. I don't have to look anymore. This is the person that I want because I just love her work. And I remember when it was coming down for like designing the cover, and I was really hoping we would get her again. And I was so glad that she was available. And what all I did was like I sent like a vision board of what I imagined. And you know, I was like, I really wanted to see like gnashing teeth. And there's like an image of like an infinity pendant necklace because it's an important part of the book, and I just want to see her doing something with it. And so I was just sending like this little vision board of what I imagined, and that is what she pulled out. And I was just blown away because it was like what I imagined when I came up with the title, but even better. So it's just
Hmm.
like she gets it. She just totally gets like the vision of this book. Yeah.
Oh, she absolutely nailed it. I saw the cover, I thought, wow, that's really powerful because despite what the old saying goes, we often do judge books by their covers. And the cover
Yes.
can either make you say, this looks great, I want to know more, or say, nah,
Yeah.
pass.
Uh-huh.
So
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
Rochelle absolutely just amazing work with the cover. I mean, she did an amazing work for This Town is on Fire too. So
Yeah,
phenomenal artist.
she's great. She's
Yeah.
fantastic. Actually, when I was at a I think it was a Petersburg Book Fest, and I was like talking about my backlist in preparation for Through Our Teeth, you know, because it was coming out that following week, and everyone was just stopping and saying like, I need to see what this book is about. For this town, they said there's something about this cover. Like they were just talking to me, and I would see their eyes wander, and they will look at the book and say, okay, I'm picking this up, and I'm just gonna buy it because
Yeah,
something. It's just calling me. Yeah.
exactly. Well, Pamela, we are coming down to the end of this conversation, but I want to ask you for a bit of advice. From folks at home, maybe they are kind of in your position where they have this idea in the back of their head for a book, and they're just like, "Well, I'm not too sure what to do with it." What's your advice for how to get that ball rolling?
Oh my gosh, just first of all, just sit down and write it. Even if it's just like I mean, for me, it took over 10 years. It took over 10 years, but I just knew it was a story that it didn't leave me. It stayed in my head. So if a story sticks with me for that long, I know it's something that I need to get out there. But I would say, like, even if you are writing 2 sentences a day, a paragraph, a page, if you're thinking about your character, if you see an image, and like I carry my phone around everywhere and I have a notes app of just
Hmm.
like little ideas or images that will pop in my head. Even when I'm sleeping, I will wake up, take my phone and say, "Oh yeah, I had this image and this would be a really cool way to incorporate into this story some kind of way." Like I saw the image of the bonfire that the story begins with, and so I think like whatever you're doing, even if it feels like, well, I didn't get a lot done, you're still doing way better than what you were the day before. So even if it's 1 sentence, it was a sentence that you didn't have the day before. So, and I would just say like just keep in mind that sometimes this whole writing gig is like a marathon, it's not a sprint. And
Hmm.
that's okay because when you take your time into something, it comes out way better than you even expected it to be.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I like that. And what is next for you?
Next is this YA horror proposal.
Yes, yes, I love it. I love it.
So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Like I probably should have turned it in yesterday to my agent, but I just want it to be so perfect.
Yes.
So it's almost there. We're sitting that, and I'm hoping too that there might be some adult mystery thrillers in the works too as well. So fingers crossed.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
Pamela, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It is so good to talk to you, and congratulations on the new book release.
Thank you so much. As always, I have such a blast coming here and speaking with you, Max. So thank you for having me again.
You're very welcome. And for the folks at home, well, you've heard the story. Now, here's what you do. You go to pamharriswrites.com. Everything is there. You get your copy of all the books, follow the socials, leave reviews. Whatever it is, leave reviews. We love to see that stuff. And as
Absolutely.
always, thank you all for listening. This has been Citywide Bytes. I'm your host, Max Bone, and I'll see you all next time.
All right.